All right. Thanks for taking the interview. Why don't you start off by telling me what your name and who you are and what you've been up to?
Hi, everybody. I'm Deborah Wright, and I am a 3D modeler and a professional sculptor for the commercial world, which means that I make things for places like theme parks and movies, television, and now O&P.
And you're a sculptor, which I love, and you've done a lot of really cool things in props and film, which is an industry I've actually talked about it quite a bit in terms of being quite closely related to the field I'm from, which is O&P. What are some of the cool challenges that drew you to the world and some of the stuff you have to deal with on a day to day?
The parallels that I see in O&P from the world that I come from is very similar to the special effects crowd that does appliances. And in my world, I started out as a mannequin sculptor.
Yeah. Okay, and so you guys deal with casting, you deal with clay, you deal with anatomy, you do with custom manufacturing for actors. Some of the bigger projects you've done were really quite interesting. What is the craziest challenge in the traditional side of this anatomical custom fabrication technique you've been doing?
Well, mostly the work that I've done that's anatomical has been mannequins. One of the biggest challenges with mannequins is implying anatomy without it being too obvious, because we want it to be more smooth than realistic. Also, the unrealistic nature of a mannequin being so long and lean, almost alienish in lots of ways. When I was sculpting mannequins, I used to dream about O&P. I used to think how lovely it would be to be able to make appliances for people who didn't necessarily want their appliance to look human. Maybe they wanted it to look tuck and rolled, or if they had new ears, maybe pointy or donkey ears. Who knows? These thoughts would run through my mind, but because of traditional sculpting, casting, and production process, it was prohibitive. And now, with the 3D printing that's available to us now, as well as the pixel pushing as ZBrush artists, we're able to walk hand in hand with people creating the appliances. That's how I ended up with Brett.
That's really awesome. The fact that you're a ZBrush artist is one of the reasons why I definitely was drawn to talk to you, and just seeing how you've applied it creatively over the years. It's one of the most powerful softwares, underrated and not talked about enough. The ability to transcend traditional budgetary concerns and fabrication with computers and 3D printing has been a boon, like, for you, and the ability to come in under budget or go farther with less. What's some examples where traditional fabrication was reduced in cost or came quicker as a result of digital tools?
It has everything to do with iteration and being able to be more flexible and create a product that we were able to manipulate and move around really quick. And it was the Lady Gaga piano tree for her 2021, 2022 world tour. And what that provided for me was an opportunity to, in real time, in front of my client, move and articulate some of the branches of the tree so they could say, stop, that's where I want it, right there. And that right there, to be able to show your client exactly what they're going to get in real time in front of them, power. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Was there anything from the physical world that carried over in your digital work when it comes to working in ZBrush?
My first ZBrush teacher said, oh, you're a traditional sculptor, aren't you? And I'm like, yes, I am. And he says, you don't stay in symmetry. You break symmetry immediately. And I said, that's more natural for me, because that's how humans and things are made. They're made symmetrical, but there's always that little that makes everything more interesting, more visually tasty.
There's definitely a lot of human anatomy that there's no way it's symmetrical. Even if you want it to be, it will never be quite symmetrical. When you came to O+P, you got introduced to a project with Brent Wright. He commissioned you to sculpt a socket. What was that like for the first time, building a product directly applying to a patient and their outcomes as opposed to props and film? There's definitely a draw to the field. Describe it. Tell me more about that project, because that's why I think I reached out, because if ZBrush artist who made a crazy cool shark-looking prosthetic leg, I got to know why and how in the story.
Did you do that? Here's the story. I was a fangirl on LinkedIn, of all places, of Brett. I would see his work And I was like, I want to do that. And we are not related, though we both have the same last name and live in the same state. I reached out to him. I'm like, oh, whenever you have a project that you think you might need ZBrush, would you please give me a call? And he
Nice.
gave me a call and we talked for about an hour and we laughed and cracked up, but he really didn't have anything for me. But flash forward about 18 months later, he's like, hey, Deb, I got something. You want to make a shark eating a guy's leg? I'm like, sure, why not? He sent me a combination of technologies, scanning the patient and then creating the socket. And then the socket, which normally would be 3D printed by itself by Brent and his team, he sent that file to me, the mesh. I took that mesh and created the shark around that socket. The challenge was to get it as close as possible and still maintain the integrity of the design of the shark and still be able to put it into a pant leg.
Was there a big concern about that? If the wall thicknesses where you had to really tightly control how much girth you were giving it?
Yeah, it's real important because as we all know, doing custom pieces, it's expensive.
Yeah.
The cool part about 3D printing coupled with design work like what I do is that you're now able to capture a lot of that financial outlay on the front end. Your template, the original socket, is much cheaper and easier because you're 3D printing it. And so you capture that money, which now can be extended to the design team or myself, a person like myself. And so it requires a shift of focus. Yeah, you've got your sockets all standard over here, and you might have to fidget with them, but now you have a little more latitude financially to bring on something like myself. And that's where your money outlay is going to be now.
The digital uptake for O+P it's a slow process. There's more than a little resistance to it. The uptake is slow and people are wary of it. And no, it's cost prohibitive, or has been for a long time. The machines that they tout as being standard are up to $500,000. They're like several floor machines. This floor station's big and lots of technical training needed. So to get into it and then to hear that there's cost savings and like lots of cost savings is a hard pill sometimes to believe, I think, for a few. But if you have the skills to be a designer and you can leverage affordable materials, you can leverage a small, cheap machine. If you have the ability to design anything and accommodate what the design requirements are, then you can work on a shoestring budget, save money, go farther. And I think practitioners need to hear that and are good at that already. It's a natural extension of who they are as a personality type. I'm sure you've come up against that personality type too. Fabricators, technicians, props and film, there's a whole personality type of people who make and who do with their hands that would rise to that challenge, I think.
We are at the very beginning of this revolution, in my opinion. I believe the revolution it's been slowly building. And you're right. A lot of people are like, I know how to do this. I've been doing it for years, decades, learned it from my mentor, my dad, my mom, whomever. And I know what to do. I'm going to do it this way. There are many opportunities for inquisitive people to expand and open up a little bit, just their horizon a little bit. And as a provider, you're able to offer one more level up. And ultimately, I hope we stop doing much of the resin work and the Bondo work and the stinky grinding. There's going to be grinding. Always, there's going to be sanding and grinding to get to the kind of beautiful product that we want to give our patients. But it's much more diminished by employing a 3D printing workflow and pipeline.
Yeah.
Because our bodies as makers and providers, we're valuable too. And we're providing these beautiful things for our community, but we need to think about our longevity. That's what keeps me going in
The digital space.
Digital, because I love to sculpt and I've got a piece I'm working on in the studio for me. I get a lot more done here in my seat.
Long days carving plaster, grinding carbon, or smelling EVA foam, and then coming home, I'm sure. It's just nobody wants to do it. If you can be a remote designer, it's something to flaunt about.
Important word. This word has given me the facility to move from Los Angeles to the East Coast so that I can be here for my dad and my stepmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
In their elder years. I would like to be here for my father until whatever day comes. We just lost my stepmother 2 months ago, and I can't be more grateful to be
Yeah.
with. I would have been in Los Angeles working in a shop. Here, I've been able to work with all of my clients. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's
better outcomes for them and for you. So you're still interested in expanding your practice and maybe even trying to get more into this field of O&P. What are the resources that people could use or leverage to get into learning ZBrush, to maybe contact you for ZBrush work?
Contact me directly. I love taking on mentors, and I have a degree in education. It gives me joy to share my secrets. I know a lot of industries can be real, we're not going to tell you anything. We're going to keep our secrets.
Yeah.
But I'm not that way. I'm very sherry, and I really want people to feel empowered. And I think that's the teacher in me. So I take on mentors, do little classes, but there are plenty of resources online if you are working on a shoestring budget. And I'd like to recommend a few of them. I made some notes.
I have to plug my ZBrush course at this point too for
I
O&P
wish you
specialists.
would.
But
Yeah.
yes, I want to hear yours as well, because I always am looking for new resources as well.
There's 3 guys online that you can guarantee that you will learn a lot of very basic ZBrush tips, tricks, and foundational stuff. And the first one is our king, Paul Gabry. Paul basically is just stunning when it comes to hard modeling. And when I talk about hard modeling, utilizing ZBrush to create things like rocket ships, robots, and airplanes. Behind them is Ian Robinson. He's the other side of the brain. He's more of like me, he tends to lean more toward juicy, organic, gooey things like food and trees and humans and characters.
Mhm.
So those are the two lead people at Max on ZBrush. They've got plenty of YouTubes. They're putting them out really regularly, and they're always really interested in questions. So shoot it to them. Another person is Pablo Munoz. He really is a good communicator, and he communicates back and forth. He also gives lessons. He does all sorts of workshops. So those 3 guys are really going to be in your corner. We all get together. Have you ever been to one of the summits yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, they're so much fun. I don't know if we're going to have another one this year. We had an online one last year. What a ball to stand around and talk about your favorite topic, ZBrush, with another person who understands the beauty of live booleans. Remember when live booleans were introduced and your head just went, oh.
I came across them today, but yes, they game change everything. You look like a superhero when you share a screen and you're twisting a lattice inside a shape.
But oh, look,
I'm amazing.
ZBrush is the Photoshop of the 21st century, in my opinion. It hits all the big buttons. It's so broad and deep. But there's other resources. You can go to ArtStation, of course, YouTubes and Discords. My friend Ashley Sparling teaches amazing hair cards for game engine. So if you want to learn how to do hair like a bomb, go to Ashley Sparling and he will hook you up.
Nice.
Brilliant and funny too. What a nice man.
Are you doing traditional mentorships? Are you teaching, doing workshops?
I'm limited right now, but I'm going to be opening it up more because I'm getting more calls for it. As ZBrush iPad unrolls,
Yeah.
people are coming more in and saying, hey, I need to learn how to use this thing. And what do you do? How do you set it? Orchestrate your UI? Those little things make all the difference in your workflow.
There's probably a gap in the market for tutorials on the iPad experience for it, because it's still fairly new.
It is pretty new, but the best part is that it is relatable to the desktop version. The agenda is to make it as relatable as possible, utilizing the elegance and interface of the iPad itself. Now, there are some hiccups that need to be overcome because of technical stuff, coding and such. Been pretty pleased with what they've produced.
You're going to be a great resource for those who want to learn. Derek Schmidt from Lemon Lattice and I are starting a Discord channel for experts in 3D printing and O+P, but we're also trying to create a job board and interdisciplinary exposure for biomedical students, mechanical engineers. There are a few, there's two guys who use ZBrush quite regularly from out of industry that are very keen on getting exposure. So if you're interested, I think you'd be a good candidate to be invited in, because it is a closed member group for now, and we're feeling out for curriculum and how to teach these products and do small business manufacturing in software. If you're looking for exposure, if you're looking for community, I think we should talk more about it.
I love that, Arthur, because I love to write curriculum.
Good.
That much.
So do I.
I'm a nerd. I want to create the syllabus. Oh my God. It's so nerdy, but it makes me happy. And it all makes my students happy too, because they have something to hang on to.
Perfect. I'll send you more details on that. Do you have any other questions? It's so cool to hear what you've been up to. I'll make sure to show the shark and everything on the screen.
I will send you some wonderful pictures so you can share them with our community. For those who want to get in touch with me, make sure to take a look. Arthur's going to make sure that all of my information is available to you.